School District to order. We'll have roll call. Joe Morales.
Here.
Martin Chapa.
Here.
David Garcia.
Here.
Joseph Reese.
Here.
James Glusing.
Here.
Delma Salinas.
Here.
And Brian Kufal is here. Let the record show there is a quorum of board members present. This meeting has been posted in accordance with Government Code Chapter 551, the State of Texas Open Meetings Act. We move now to a moment of silence, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance in the text. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
All right, we move now to item number 4, which is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion made by Mr. Glusing.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Morales. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion carries 7-0. This meeting is being live video streamed. Item number 5 is public participation. Ms. Pettis, do we have anyone who wishes to address the board?
No.
We move now to item number 6, which is new business. Item 6A is discussion and possible action regarding resolution for votes cast for the election of candidates to the Board of Directors of the Claiborne County Appraisal District. This will be found on pages 2 through 8 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kufal and Dr. Pettis, members of the board. Test.
Okay, it's coming through.
Okay. Every entity that collects taxes gets to nominate a certain number of cast a certain number of votes to the appraisal board. The appraisal board has 5 members that serve a 2-year term, and the current term ends December the 31st of 2023. So we are required to, by December the 15th, we are required to cast our votes. And then the nominees will serve from January 1 of 2024 all the way to December 31 of 2025. Currently, we have 1,685 votes that can be cast amongst those nominees. I'll take any questions you have.
All right, board, there has been nominated on page 8, 6 candidates for the position of the board, which 5 will be elected. Currently serving on the board of Brandon Barrera, Roy Cantu, myself, Daniel Morales. Albert Garcia has not been nominated for replacement. So you see the nominations there of the 6 people. And all we need to do is take our 1,685 votes and allocate them as we would like to see fit. 900 votes will pretty much assure that someone gets elected. Are there any suggestions or recommendations as to what we do with our 1,685 votes?
I think, Mr. President, what we need to do is still keep you to represent KISD. Okay. Just my opinion on that. And you said maybe 900 will get you in.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so why don't we do 950? It's just my numbers. 950.
We have to make a motion and roll.
I mean,
Right.
we know that Mr. Barrera also does a great job for us there. And I know that we quoted him last time. Is there a way that maybe we can do and Daniel Morales would be the third, also our third choice, I think.
We have to get 5 of them.
Yeah, also we can put all our votes on someone or none on it. If 750 were allocated to me, that leave, 950 were allocated to me, that leaves 735. You just want to split them evenly between the other two?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be 368 for Mr. Barrera, 367 for Mr. Morales. Would someone like to present that in the form of a motion?
I'd like to see it maybe, Mr. President, we can. I think last year we had given Mr. Barrera a few more votes on that. I'd like to see maybe we see it maybe at 600 votes.
For Brandon.
For Brandon.
And that would leave us, how much are we total? That'd leave us 185 for Mr. Morales, which I think would.
For Mr. Morales, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Garcia, are you proposing a motion that the KISD board votes be allocated 950 to Brian Kufal, 600 to Brandon Barrera, and 185 to Daniel Morales?
That would be my motion.
All right,
Let me
motion
just
has
say
been
that
made.
that does not add up to 1685.
Okay,
I think it would be 145.
got it,
For Daniel.
got it. 950, 600, and 135. That's been presented in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Mr. Garcia, seconded by Mr. Ruiz. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. We will allocate that, sign the resolution, and have those submitted to the appraisal test. All right, gentlemen, we're going to now recess the board meeting to go into a workshop to discuss the following: the election update, the insurance presentation that we'll have on Monday, the sale of the AEP property, safety and facilities enhancement, roofing update, track update, and the potential sale of excess properties. Dr. Pitts. We will start with the KISD trustee election update.
No, okay. Go to the folder down there. Go back. Go to elections.
Oh, this is appraisal board elections.
Okay. And then go to board documents. The 2024 elections. And go to employee details. Thank you, Mr. Kufal. As you're aware, May the 4th of 2024 will be the next board election for places 4, 5, 6, and 7. I wanted to take time to go over the timeline and answer any questions that you have on the election. If you look at the deadline to post candidate forms, Thursday, May the 4th, 2023, 1 year before the date of the election, we are required to post on our website the announcement of the new election, and that is under board under elections, and that was there since last year. Deadline to post notice of candidate filing is December the 18th. That's the next one. And in your board packet, you see a copy of what I will be posting on the internet and at the front door before December the 18th. You notice I have signed it, and for the last 2 elections, the board has given me the great honor as far as being the secretary to the board for elections, and I will be taking that next week if the board wishes to entertain that idea to have me be in charge of running the elections again for the school district. If not, please let us know so that we can bring somebody else next month when we come to the board meeting. But I will be happy to do it. I've done the last 2 elections, and I'll be happy to do it again if appointed by you guys. So the first day to file an application will be January the 17th, and the last day is February the 16th. You have 30 days there to turn in your application, and there is a notary that's a part of that. Then you see the last day to order the election. So in January, I will be bringing to you the election order. The election order isn't ready yet. I met already with Sonny Barrera, but we in the past have had a joint election with the county. And the reason for that is severalfold. One is it's financial. We split the costs with the county. Two is we also have judges that serve in locations for the joint election instead of us having to get the joint election, our single election and split the judges. It has worked well for us in the past. We haven't had any issues. We have contracted with the county. The county leases us the voting machines. They also have the expertise to count the provisional ballots. And they also basically have an area where we can all meet together to review everything and make sure that all the votes are tallied correctly. They have all the software that links directly with the voting machines as well too. So we haven't had any problems in the past with that. Then after the, so you see on there, there's a deadline to write in be a write-in candidate. Deadline to register to vote. We don't mess with that. That is the county that worries about all of that. And early voting, we're still working on early voting days, but when I bring it in January, we will have a list of all the early voting days, all the early voting sites as well too. And again, that'll be after the county and myself and the city all meet together and have finalized that. Again, we have to by February the 16th, we have to post our order for the election, but that our board meeting in February is after February 16th, so we will be bringing it to the January board election. And we should be done. I have notified the county and the city of our deadline so that they're aware of that. And then finally, once the election is done on May the 4th, by that night, we are allowed to post not only the votes by that night by precinct, but also the early voting as well. The only ones that won't be posted that night are a handful of provisional votes that will be counted for probably a week afterwards, and then some overseas that if for some reason we have some overseas and they're postmarked by May the 4th as well too. So usually the election is not too close to call by that night, but it is possible that if we're within 10 votes or something that it is possible that we cannot call it on that night. And again, nothing is official until the ballot board counts all of the provisional and overseas ballots, and all of those are posted. So we cannot swear in a new candidate until everything is official. So usually it might be 10 days or so after May the 4th that we can actually have our swearing in of the new candidates. I will take any questions that you might have.
In the past, the city has conducted elections jointly with us, but the city went to 4-year terms, I believe in 20 or 22. Will be no city election this May. The county follows the primary path.
There will be a city election this time. They won't have one in 26.
Okay, so there will be a city election. So we will be joint with the city in our election. Okay.
Now in 26, that creates an issue because we are required to, there's two different legal provisions. One is that we're required to have our election in conjunction with another entity, whether it be the city or the water board or a hospital district. There's also a provision that we can't move our election to November. We can't change our election date. There's only certain times we can do that. And I know we've spoken with legal about it in the past. Now, 2 years ago in 2022, we got lucky because it turned out that there were oppositions. Yeah. So in 26, we'll see what happens, but we're all set for right now for 24.
So the city is commissioner?
Yeah.
everybody that was elected that is on the board right now will have served 3.5 years when they were elected. So our term is only 3.5 years instead of 4 years.
That's actually correct because of COVID. They kept actually your predecessor served 5.5 years, and then you guys are only 3.5.
4.5. The
Four,
predecessors. And that was all due to COVID. One of the things that was done during the last election too, that I'd like to encourage administration to do again is rather than have the individual candidates contact the superintendent or people to meet with them. There was a candidate forum that was held that I believe was very, very effective. And I'm hoping that we can get that going again. We have board policy that covers this. It's also covered in our board operating procedure. So if anyone contacts you, feel free to direct them to either one of those to determine the qualifications, and the process. All right. Anybody have any other questions?
So next week, I will be bringing to you the board needs to appoint a secretary to the board for purposes of elections, and I'll be bringing that with my name next week, and then after that, then in January, we will be bringing the order of election.
All right. No further questions, then we'll move on to item 7B, which is the property and casualty insurance presentation. This can be found on page 12 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal. This will be very short because I actually have Carlisle coming next week, and they weren't able to make it this week. But the issue is that our property and casualty insurance has been increasing astronomically. Last year, it increased by 41%. And not only did it increase by 41%, before last year, we insured 100% of our property, over $200 million worth of property. But last year, we were only able to insure $50 million of property with a 41% increase. So what that meant is that if our whole school district was devastated property-wise, they would only pay for about 28%, the first 28% of buildings. Now, what would happen? What would that mean to our school district? Well, in all cases where that has happened before, FEMA has stepped in. Now, usually it takes a while to get the money back from FEMA, but they have not let school districts go under. But we are not the only ones. Pretty much everyone has moved now from insuring 100% of their property to whatever they can afford. And he's going to give us several different options. I told him that one of the options needs to be $800,000. What can we afford with $800,000, and best structure it that way? Because last year it increased to 1.4 million, and that is not tenable. We just don't have the budget to do that. But again, he's going to present us several options next week when he comes. I don't think any questions yet.
In preparation of our package, our board meeting is Monday instead of Tuesday. For our package, can you send us in our packet our current coverage, the sheet that we kind of ended up with at the end of last year? It may be part of his presentation also, but I'd rather get it from you than from them, so that we have it reflected fairly.
Certainly.
Thank you. All right, we move now to item 7C, which is the AEP property sale update. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal. This property sale is complete. We have received the funds, again, there is nothing else that needs to be done. So that is sale of those 2 acres right adjacent to the current AEP station. Their plans are to number one, to put new equipment in that 2 acres, then have the area run on that new equipment while they dismantle the old equipment and put new equipment where the old equipment is. So eventually then the area will have more capacity and theoretically also less chance of things going wrong.
Will you, have they shared any kind of timeline with you?
As far as the construction?
Yeah.
No, but I can try to get something about that.
The one thing that's gonna concern us, and we discussed this in the negotiations and hopefully made it into the contract, is that when we began our negotiations, it was prior to having constructed the fence. And so the fence, part of the fence may have to come down at some point. They agreed to replace it or whatever, and I'm assuming that there will be a fenced enclosure around their entirety also, as there is now. So if we could just know the timing of that so that we can plan accordingly.
And I think it would be beneficial if I told them that before that old fence is torn down, that the new fence line needs to be constructed, or at least an interior one, so that our kids will always be protected.
Ideally, that would happen in their summer or, you know,
Yes.
and if they can coordinate that, that'd be great.
Not the week this time.
Right. Any other questions regarding the AEP property? Lord, that's been 2 years almost in the works. Right. All right. Item 7D, safety and facilities enhancement grant update. So you found on page 14 of our packet. Mr. Segovia.
Good evening, Mr. Cooper, Board President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Pettis. Just a quick overview on the safety and facilities enhancement grant update. We did submit and received a safety and facilities enhancement grant, which is a cycle 1 grant. The total amount awarded was $887,780. The district has until July 31st of 2025 to use these grants. And some of the things of items that we can use the grant for are fencing, exterior doors, glass exterior doors, not within a secured area, ground level exterior windows, the silent panic alert technology, and cameras, and exterior door locations.
Who awarded this grant? All right. This will in no way affect any monies that we're awarded legislatively. Okay, this will be above and beyond.
This is cycle 1. There's going to be other cycle 2. So
The last meeting, I think Dr. Sandoval, I would have like a priority list, right? You identified.
We talked about fencing, we talked about the building that we already added to the campuses. Now it's just a matter of paying it out. We're doing some, we gotta get amount of boxes for the exterior as well, we'll look at that. So that law enforcement and fire, well, fire already has access, but law enforcement has access to the building as well. We're also looking at solid panic alert, you know, whether we should change from what we currently have, or whether we can go to a different model to be more efficient in terms of having that type of technology.
and radio communication.
For fire, we want police to have better communication when they're in the building than just now.
Well, one of the things we talked about was moving the band practice room. Is this gonna be able to provide fencing for that?
Well, the currently what we had talked about possibly doing, I don't think we ever even passed that conversation. We talked about when we use the band, the band hall, that we currently have now. We never went any further in that conversation that we had. But it's definitely fixed in already, Mr. Cooper. I mean, it is under. Yeah, the text, yeah, that's it. I'm sorry, it is currently fenced in already. But whether we're moving forward on that project at this time, that's not something we consider.
Okay.
Any questions?
All right, if there's no further questions on the safety and facilities enhancement, we'll move now to item number 7E, which is the roofing update. It's to be found on page 15 of our packet.
Thank you, Mr. Kupal, Dr. Pettis, members of the board. So we're gonna talk about three roofs, and just so we're all on the same page. BBA will be the building that goes east and west, and it's closest to the student parking lot, which is this. And then vocational building B is the one that goes north and south. That's adjacent to the tennis courts, and then we'll get to the memorial roof. We'll touch on that just a little bit. Peter and I are gonna kind of tag team on this, but we talked about vocational building A and that roof. Can you go back to A, please?
Yes, sir.
And as you can see, that roof is, I took a picture of that today, and I didn't even want to stand on that roof. You can see the edges of the building. I don't know if on that third picture all the way to the right, that's where the hole is. I didn't want to get near that thing, so I just tried to take the best picture I could. And then of course there's other, it's just a bad roof. So talking about that roof, the second part of that, can you go to B, please? In B, we have this roof houses our AV program, ROTC, special populations, and auto body. So that was the last big rain that we had. Doesn't have very good drainage, so that's just ponding water right there. We got to make decisions on, or we'll present it to you so we can make decisions on how we're going to move with this and the options we have. So I'm going to flip it over to the money side and let Peter tackle this one.
So the question is, can we afford those projects? If you look on the left side, that's what we budgeted this year. We budgeted for the Gillette fence, $100,000. For vocational roof A, that's the one where you saw a part of the roof missing. If you could go back to it, please. Oh, I'm sorry, just keep it on that screen, please. We budgeted $350,000, and looking at our estimate, next estimate now by our roofing consultant is $305,000. So we can theoretically save $45,000 there. If you go right back above the Gillette fence, the grant's going to cover that now, the grant that we just received. So theoretically, we're saving $100,000. You see the negative $100,000 there. The memorial roof repairs, instead of $300,000, we're thinking we can do it for $245,000. We haven't gone out for bids yet or anything. So this is just preliminary talking to our consultant. Negative $55,000. We could put a new roof on that memorial building for $300,000 more, but again, that's not in the budget, and the roofing consultant believes that is sufficient for now. We don't have students there. That should stop the leaks and stop further deterioration. HMK parking lot, that project hasn't begun yet, so we don't know whether that's over budget or whether that is under budget yet. So right now I'm putting it as even at 0 for over or under. The track, that one has begun, and we're going to have a track update in just a minute. So the track again did come in over budget, and we brought that to the board. So we were over $181,000 total. And the one that we did not put into the budget was that vocational building B, the one adjacent to the tennis courts. But that one has pooling water on it right now. So the question is, the others, again, we have the budget there. Does the board want to proceed with vocational building B? What we would do for that building would be to do some maintenance repair work, some patchwork there. We would put about 5 or 6 drains there so that the water does not pool anywhere. And there would also be an impermeable coating that is on the top as well too. And the roofing consultant said that should last at least 10 years. So it kicks the can down the road, but otherwise, again, we're talking quite a bit more money to put a new roof there. It would be instead of about $150,000, it'll be about $300,000 more to put a new roof right now if we decide to do that right now instead of patch it. But again, that roof is not in as bad a shape as building A is. Building A, really, there's no option whatsoever. Yes, sir.
Which is one with the server, what, is that roof A or B?
That is A. So that would get a completely new roof, where the server is there. So we're recommending to, do building B, just the repair patch job in the impermeable layer and not put a completely new roof on. Again, the consultant says it'll last 10 more years. Now, do we have the money to afford that? Well, that, as you can see at the very bottom, with the negatives and the positives, that puts us at $131,643 over what we originally budgeted. So if we move forward with vocational roof B, these are our options. Number one, we had talked about for the track, not doing the whole thing this year, doing the area that's worse repaired.
Not the
Sorry, the parking lot. Yes, thank you very much. We had talked about the parking lot, doing only the part that's in most need of repair. So that's one option. The other option is if we decide to, when we bring the track, parking lot quote to you, and it is still going to put us over budget for our construction budget, we could adopt a bigger budget for the year, which would dip more into our fund balance by that $131,000, or it might be less depending on, because we don't have quotes yet for the roofs. So once we get quotes for the roofs and the parking lot, that's our option. But if we go over that $2.1 million you see on the left, then the board does need to take action at that time, because that is all that we have approved to transfer into our construction budget for this year at this point.
Dr. Pitts, when are we going out for bids? When does that gonna start?
For the roofing, we are planning to do that very soon in either December or January. We just wanted to bring to you the options of the roof before we did that. So granted, if the board approves it, because we save quite a bit of money, maybe $75,000 by doing roof A and Memorial and roof B together, because they have a similar mobilization. They bring all the manpower and all the materials at the same time. The one that we haven't had approved by the board yet was B. So again, before anything is done, we would bring bids to the board, and the board would have to approve it before it's done. But what we are asking for is, does the board want us to proceed forward with the building B that's adjacent to the tennis courts, even though it is conceivable that at the end of the year, if we move forward also with the parking lot, that we will have to adopt a larger construction budget. And then as soon as we get to go ahead from the board, then we will go out and start working on our bid packet and putting everything out there.
I mean, my recommendation is still go out for the bids, because at this point, the parking lot repair, we still are not sure. Quite possibly come in, $50,000, $100,000 on your budget. If we did decide to do that, that could help offset some of this 131,000 over. So I think this is my suggestion, we move forward and least getting bids to determine where are we in dollars and cents, and then determine if we're going to have to, vote for additional funds.
Worst possible scenario is if we would have to dip into our fund balance a little bit more. We do have the funds, and as a matter of fact, next week we will be presenting where we are as far as our financial rating, which was a 92 at the end of 2022. But again, that was with ESSER funding, and now we have greater challenges now that we don't have the ESSER funding anymore. So is the board also in consensus that the roof B that we didn't originally identify last year and now is pooling water all over the place, that we move forward with the repairs and drainage on that as well for the estimated cost of $150,000? And again, before we move forward with anything, we will bring the actual numbers to the board after we've gotten the quotes. We'll bring it to you.
No, building A and building B, they make like an L, right?
Correct.
And then there's a C.
There's a C, but right now that's
Right.
that's in the best condition of all of them.
All right.
It's out of the.
And A doesn't have an awful lot of use right now, but it's critical because that's where the electrical stuff is.
Absolutely, and it could have more use as soon as we repair it. But again, something needs to be done, and we don't have an option with that building because with the electrical, we keep having problems whenever we have a significant rain, and it's not really passing fire code until we get that repaired.
Brian, I have a question. With the money we made from the AAP property sale, where does that go? Is that already earmarked?
So that was already included in the budget that we, as far as potential revenues. So again, that is already here.
Kind of lock that out, you know, that we want to go with the track expansion. I mean, the track.
Well, you said that building A is going to provide extra space. How much extra space?
How many classrooms are there? Like,
At least 5 on each side. And they're being unused now. There's nothing in.
So there's still showers in there, that used to be on good, I'd have to bring back, we'd have to bring it back to classroom again.
Yes. Yeah, there's that, or I'm saying, my question is, we have building B that's falling apart. Well, what would you do? Right, right, but is there room in these extra places in building A that house?
Possibly some of them. Building B includes several. It includes one, our automotive, 2, our ROTC. 3, we have 1 special education classroom in there, and then 4, we have our auto visual in that building as well. So some of them could potentially be moved in there.
But not all.
And that's why I think piecemealing it at this point, or temporary repairing it, as opposed to a full roof on B, would probably be our best bet, so that we can look to see if we can reconfigure some of that down the road to perhaps absorb as much as possible. I know that there was one discussion about an indoor range for ROTC, possibly to be used there, and I'd hate to do a hurry up and say, yeah, we're just going to transfer all those people out there. I'd rather see a coordinated effort to say, let's, here's going to be the best and highest use. We don't have a choice in A because of the electrical stuff.
There's a hole in the roof.
Yeah, and if we've got students potentially going to be affected in B, then in my estimation, we've got to at least do what we can, especially putting some drains and trying to extend the life of that roof, and then develop a long-term plan as to what's going to be the highest and best use of these 2 buildings. And that will help us, I think, determine in the future what to do with B.
We can go out for another on bond in 20 years or 10 years?
2033.
2033. So that means 9 years from now. So if we get 10 years out of building B, that puts us into the next bond period if we must do that. And we're there. But I think we ought to look at the parking lot. I mean, here we discussed the fact that we can either redo the entire parking lot for $450,000, or we can put some sort of divider and just fix the worst parts. I think that's where we may have to look at things and get 2 bids on the parking lot, is getting it both completely redone and just in increments.
Like when Dr. Sandoval brought up right there where the tennis courts are, where we have all that high traffic, that was going to be a concrete driveway.
Yeah, if we could get that in cement.
We're looking at 3 phases, concrete there, phase 2 being between the CTA and the band marching pad, and then the band marching pad being like the 3rd phase. Because that one, we might be able to hold off on that section. So maybe do phase 1 and 2, which might be enough money, that the money we have available, that might be the difference to get it done. And really, we gotta push for the CTV, because that water just, it looks like a pool up there. And And we were surprised to find out there was no drainage up there whatsoever. So every time that it rains, it's holding more waters and compromising the sheet, the roofing, the asphalt and any insulation and in there, so it's creating a bigger pool every time. And there's nowhere for that water to go. So one thing we are looking at is retrofitting and adding the drainage, to push that water out faster and have that water sit on top of that roof. I was really surprised. I think 60-70% of that roof is covered with water. Wow. And it's definitely,
Now, we've had them come back and report to us the damage on that, but that has never been brought up, right? Dr. Sonia?
First time I've seen it.
That's the first time I hear about
Yeah,
it.
first time I've seen that.
So this didn't happen this past year. It had to been there. Why wasn't that brought in 3.5 years ago when I came?
I tell you, Mr. Garcia, how I knew about it is because Mike Bella and I walked on top of the roof and while it was raining, because we were getting,
No, I believe
it
you.
was raining for days, so
Yeah.
it was like.
So I was
It's squeegee the water. And
And
No,
so that's
what
how
I'm saying
it
is that we had these guys, these consultants, look at these roofs. And nothing like that was ever brought to us. I guess I don't remember, unless you all remember.
They talked about fee, but they said that.
Not a total 60% public pool.
No, and they probably only know that if it
was.
if it had rained. You'd think that, not, but you think that they would
Well-
know that there were no drains.
Well, you
And
can
then-
see it, yeah, you'd be able to see them. Where the water.
But I think at this point, I mean, you know, we have to do something, because if we don't, then it's gonna be a big problem.
Dr.
More expensive.
Dr. Pitts, I'd like to know, okay, you said December, January, bids will probably go out. I mean, a RFP, whatever it is, gonna be, right?
There's.
Where would that be advertised at, first of all? It would be the local paper or what?
If you, so there's two possible avenues that we can do, and we'll try to bring something to the board, those options next week. So there is, number one, to post in probably the Kingsville Record, the Corpus Christi Caller Times, and also some type of online posting as well, to just to get more, get out there more. And then I was discussing this with Mr. Maddox, and we'll discuss a little bit more in the future of competitive bidding through procurement contracts, where you get about 6 or 7 vendors that are already have been shown to go through the competitive bidding, and we bring all 6 or 7 of those to you. And in that case, then we do not have to necessarily post them and go out. That is a quicker process, and we're going to bring you some of those options next week that you can take a look at before we begin.
All right, any other discussion about the roof? Roof update, and we'll look forward to seeing that brought back to us sometime quickly. All right, if not, we moved into item 7F, which is the HMK track update. This can be found on page 16 of our report. Dudley.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper, Dr. Pettis, members of the board. So we began the first phase of the track, or the first phase of the track began on November 22nd. And I got some pictures, it'll load up. But basically it was just the demo part of it. And the demo includes all the asphalt that was currently on there, the curbs. What we did with the track this time, there's a couple pictures of the demo. We are going from a 7-lane track to an 8-lane track, so it's going to widen. So that they're working on that currently right now. So these are the demolition pictures. This is so they're moving fast and furious on the track. Talking to the guys today, they're beginning the excavation next. So they got some major machinery out there, and they're getting after it. Today, one thing we had to do was I got with the plumbers, and the plumbers capped off the line, and they're moving some of the backflow stuff just to make sure that everything is on the up and up with the width of the track. So other than that, these are the pictures. We will be starting phase 2, which is the excavation. So they'll excavate the track to required depth per the geotechnical report. There's a ton of big words in that. But basically, what they're gonna do is, they're gonna go down 3 feet. They're gonna make sure they're gonna moisture condition, which means they're gonna add tons of water to the ground to make sure that the ground is stable. They're gonna add some conditioner, some rock conditioner, and they're basically gonna just build it back up. So when they put on the asphalt and then the track, eventually the track surface. So that's supply and install a foot of select fill, rough graded and compacted, and requires the density. The reason we do all these geotechnical reports is so when they actually put the track surface and it's completely done, we don't have movement in the ground. And so the track life is longer. The next time we'll have to do anything with the track, you won't have to dig into the asphalt. We'll just remove the track surface and then spray a new track surface. So it's going good. It's going good. They're going fast and furious. There's a guy that I'm in contact with just about every other day. There's a project manager that I'm in contact with, and then I guess you call him the superintendent of the project that calls me about every week. So they're going good. To be continued, of course, we'll come up with more updates for you guys, but once they rebuild the asphalt, then that'll be the time where they have to let it sit for 30 days. And then they'll come and test it again, make sure the asphalt's solid, and then spray the final. I think it's a half an inch of track surface.
Are they gonna be giving you samples of what they're gonna be using? Drill down.
They've already done that.
Okay.
Initially, they've done that at this price, but part of the phase 2 of the excavation, they'll dig down. I think they go a foot, no, they go 8 inches first. They check the soil, they'll come back, report to us how solid it is. They'll go back another foot of
You'll get to see that core there.
yeah, we can see all that stuff.
You can see it. Yeah.
When's the projected end date again?
I told them today, I said, I need a date. I said, last week of February going into the first week of March. So that's what they're at. He said, I said, that's gonna be the number one question to ask. You better have it. I'm gonna release all your information to these guys. So it's fun. It's
They're moving along.
Yeah.
they are, they're going, they're getting after it.
How old is that track?
I was there when I'm.
So is there any impact to day-to-day operations?
No, as far as our kids and stuff like that, we moved soccer off to the side. Kids are not going back and forth. So it's a separate.
Arnold's keeping that great lawn. They had a barricade.
And they're not entering through that north gate. They have the south entrance real close to the tennis court. So they're just going right in, right out, right in, right out. And they're keeping their equipment there anyway. We gave them the hot zones or the hot time zones of when students are coming in and in the afternoon. So they're aware of when there's high traffic at our class.
So with one spring, always bring them, and see when you open to the public after it's put in.
We're gonna do what we've been doing. We're gonna be doing what we've been doing. We're keeping it locked during the day, this stranger danger.
Sure.
And then afterwards, we look at the parameters for how to them out, because we gotta make sure we take care of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking the question.
So Mike, I have a
That was a
question.
good place to walk. I know.
Just for my own benefit, I mean, this company also installs artificial curb, they do lights, things like that. Was there any discussion or mention from the company that there's a potential of doing something? And I'm not talking about a field where we're playing on it. I'm talking about the band being able to practice on it. I'm talking about soccer games being played on it. I'm talking about because I know that football a lot goes into, you have press box and bathrooms, and I mean there's
The vision for us is, yes, eventually we want to get there. I talked to the main guy that I talked to with the track and I told him the reason we went 8-lane track is because we want it to be eventually a competition track. The reason we moved the long jump pits to the other side is because they were currently on the field, right? And if we did that and we want to eventually make that a competition soccer field, then they would be in the middle of soccer. So we moved those out of there with the vision that, hey, you know, we want Brandon to compete on there once we lay down a turf field, once we put on lights, once we get on bleachers. That'd be great. That'd be great. I feel like if we go turf, lights and bleachers, you know, that'd be great. And then go to press box and stuff like that. And we could go into phases, for sure.
But do they offer any kind of like cost or like mention?
I think there's ways we can do it. We can bring those to you. Like, you know, maybe a 7-year plan, a 10-year plan of how I've had that conversation when we first, because the superintendent asked me, what do you guys plan on doing? I said, well, we plan on making this our home stadium. So he goes, well, let me think about how we can make this happen.
It's football week, somewhere in this district, in a building, we have that whole plan.
Yes.
Somewhere, I don't know, it used to be an athletic office.
I
Yeah,
have it in my house.
so, yeah, and it just with phase, with the football field, moving the softball field, I mean. Beautiful color, but that's all, that's as far as it went.
I think it's possible. I told him we got $50,000 cash to do it all right there.
Yeah.
Who cares? We got a lot of fund balance.
I will say though, there are.
Motion though.
There's a lot of.
There are significant challenges to completing the rest of that project right now, just because of all our aging infrastructure and because of our decreased fund balance after we do all these construction projects this year. And of course, right now, where we are with our bonds, we're maxed out with our bonds right now.
If you want the truth, it encourages us to apply pressure to the legislature to increase the amount, the funding that's for public education, 1, 2. It also pushes pressure on us to stay on our truancy guys and our people who get the attendance. And we get our kids back. We track, they help us big. All right. Any other questions on the track update? If not, we'll move to item G, which is the potential sale of excess properties. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Goopal. The properties we're talking about are Lamar and McRoberts, and of course, those properties aren't being used right now. Pogue now has been moved to the Clayburgh area, right next to where the CARES Academy is. So those 2 properties are completely vacant right now. We used to have, and McRoberts, we used to have a book storage facility there, but that's not there anymore. It's over at Memorial in one of the cafeterias. It's now the book room there. So those properties are completely vacant, and the first step was to do a title run, and we did it for Lamar and McRoberts, and also Pogue was included separately. There weren't problems. There was one potential pavement lien that was identified in the title run, but I checked with the city of Kingsville, and that's long since been taken care of. So we're clear there. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Goopal for where we are moving next.
One of the things when we got ready and started talking about selling Plato, Plato, and we were actually under contract before we found that there was huge title problems associated with that. All that property had been donated by Mrs. King, and it had reversionary clauses in it that said that if they ever reviewed or anything other than education, they reverted back to her heirs. The same was in the Austin property. we were trying to make sure that we did not run into either of those situations with either of these properties. Dr. Pitt sent me the title work that came back from the title company. It's clear. We're not ready to, I believe that the process that we ought to undertake is discuss whether or not we want to even go. I think the first thing that we need to do is let some of the city official type people know that we would entertain, if the board is interested in entertaining getting rid of these properties. It's twofold for us. One, there's a bit of overhead that we still have to maintain those properties. Number two, their own tax rolls at zero. And even if somebody paid $1 for those properties, they would go on the tax rolls at a market value. And we, the city, the county would all be beneficiaries of it's purchased by somebody who's not nonprofit. We would get additional tax revenues from that. I think we're in consensus that we're not ever going to have use for McRobertson and Plato and actually and Lamar and actually to make those even compliant to be able to use probably be really complicated, probably easier to take it from scratch. And at some point, I guess we need to get serious and either have our own appraisal done to know what a fair price to market would be. But I think that the first stage would just to get the word out there that if there's interest, both of those properties are large enough that a commercial developer could be interested in housing, apartments, something along those lines. So there could be some realistic people out there wanting to. I don't think our door's going to be putting out the contracts. I don't think we're at a point to contact an agent to represent them, but I think if we just got the word out there that we've got some excess properties that we might be interested in selling, then we've developed a plan that's how to take that further. I don't think there's a real rush. We're not for sale situation. But it's something I think that we really discussed that we'd be really willing to follow if that's this is
some portables over there tomorrow, and one of them is in terrible shape.
The city's gonna actually,
They're gonna get, the city's gonna move
Wait.
for us. Okay,
Mayor, he talked to me about that.
yeah, that's good.
I really think we should move on. And hopefully, Roy can help us get the word out. I put it in the paper that we're seriously discussing that. I mean,
We've at least at this point we've cleared any hurdles. There's nothing prohibiting us from entertaining sales. I think in the somewhat near future, if somebody doesn't come to us quickly, then we might spend the money to get it appraised to see what it would realistically, what a realistic sales price would be. Not interested in giving it away. We've got a laundry list of projects that could go a long way to help it, but it might get some lights turned out.
I mean, the salesman, I can do that. Do we need a motion of any sort?
No,
No.
no. In fact, all of that workshop, we just wanted to update on that. It came fresh off the press, I think, last week. It's not, it's, those title searches are available. It's pages and pages of a bunch of these, but they do appear to be. All right. At this point, we are going to adjourn the workshop and re-enter the board meeting to address item number 8. The board will enter into closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074 to deliberate and consider the following: A, discussion regarding superintendent contract extension or renewal. B, consider and deliberate with legal counsel regarding legal and personnel matters. No action will be taken until we return to open session. We are entering closed session at 6:30 p.m. Return to open session and take necessary action on matters which the board may discuss in open session upon which action may be taken. We are returning to open session at 7:03 PM. Item A, discussion and possible action regarding superintendent's contract extension or renewal. Fellow board members, I move that we rescind the action that we took at our prior board meeting regarding the superintendent's contract. And instead, for clarification purposes, that we offer a 3-year contract renewal. That we offer a 1% increase in base salary. That would be retroactive to the beginning of this contract period. And that we approve a 2.5% contribution to the retirement program. One now and one in 6 months. Is there a second?
And it's expiring.
And those two are it in its entirety.
And that's for this school year.
That is for this school year.
Oh, okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion's been made by Mr. Kufal and seconded by Mr. Glusing. For clarification purposes, the only change from the prior motion that we approved at the last meeting is a 1% salary increase. And the 2.5% that had already been approved that was going to be funded in February and then 6 months later in August will now be funded, one now and one in 6 months. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. There being no further action, do I hear a motion to adjourn? May everybody, we are adjourning this meeting at 7:05 PM.